Hi everybody and welcome to the first Conversation Aviation Podcast. I'm John Franklin, I'm Head of Safety Promotion at EASA, and for our first guest I'm pleased to have our Director of Strategy and Safety Management here at EASA. I've got Luc Tytgat. Luc, great that you could join us. Maybe you could start by telling us, particularly a lot of people hopefully listening, they know about EASA and all the different things we do, but they perhaps don't know all the different roles that different people in the agency do. So maybe you could explain a little bit about your role here at EASA.
Yes, thank you very much, John. Yes, this is an opportunity for us to explain how we are in the agency starting to build up the foundation for the intelligence we require to establish at EU level in order to have the best and holistic understanding what are the risks to the aviation. The existing well-known risk, but also the newly identified or the near-to-come risk, which we don't know yet. And my directorate is about getting through all type of information channels, through occurrences, through FDM, through report, to get as much as possible as we can as information, but also for any open sources like we have for the conflict zone, like we have with the cyber risk platform. That's a role that we are building up the intelligence. What are the risks today to the aviation sector?
I think that's one of the most interesting things I've seen, certainly in the last 10 years of the agency, is the broadening of the work we do, not just from what people might see as traditional aircraft flight safety, but into particularly, as you say, conflict zones and cyber security, and then also into environment. Do you see those as that step as really important for that integrated picture that we've been talking about so much?
I mean, we are here in the middle of a big change, transformation of the aviation sector, but industry, of course, and even operations. When the drones arrived, I think it was around 2015-16, when the agency start to look at the file, we discover that we had to adapt ourselves and to help, of course, all the sector, including those who are listening to us today, that there is something new in the picture, in the landscape we need to integrate in our way to manage in our operations and industry. And as regulator, we have that responsibility to do it. You mentioned a few of them. I would like just to add another one, artificial intelligence. I mean, it's everybody's key now to make use of it and how it will be capable to onboard it in our systems, how we will be certified them. It's another question we need to tackle today. So plenty of challenges.
And I see that's one of the things, interestingly, particularly when we talk to people in industry, I think there's an element of people almost being scared of what technology almost moving too fast. And I think that's where, particularly from our side, continually staying on top of where technology and the industry is going. And I think that's a key part of the role that you have, is that foresight of looking ahead and seeing what changes are coming both politically as well as strategically.
The speed of change is what you are referring to. This is really another challenge, because we don't have time. Why? I think there are expectations by society that aviation is flying greener, and they don't want to wait too long, otherwise they will leave the aviation sector. They will travel by rail. So we have the duty now as aviation communities to offer the best solutions in order to help this fast evolving capability aviation has always shown, but this time to meet with the climate change adaptation requirements. And that we cannot wait too long. They are, as you know, with the Paris Agreement, with the Green Deal, we all want to reduce our impact on the environment, and we have to do that very quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's that imperative that we have now, that it's, you know, this change and the changing mindsets of the travelling public is coming perhaps much quicker than people think it is. So it's how can we keep up with that and continue our development as an agency and the wider industry to stay on top of that.
Absolutely, John. Absolutely. I think if we don't do it that way, we will lose ground as a transportation system. I mean, air travel becomes more now in competition with high-speed trains, for example. I mean, the new generation is prepared to travel by train for a long time. They don't care, I mean, how long it will take. So it's our duty now, as we said, really our duty to adapt the way operations are provided. I would call it the CONOPS of the air transport, and we need, as regulator, to support that. I think this conversation we are having and this magazine each year will have as an objective is to share as much as possible information we know from an EU perspective, and we want to disseminate in order to help to change the image we need to give of the aviation sector to society and to the new generation of passengers.
And I think that's the magazine itself will be a great way for us to keep people in the operational part of the industry aware of what's coming and what's changing, and why they might see things on the EASA website or things in the news, but to be able to see themselves as people in the aviation system from us where things are going, I think is a great long-term, they get that great long-term view and understanding that perhaps they wouldn't get otherwise just by reading the news, if that makes sense.
This will be a main element also we want to pursue, we should pursue in the magazine, is also to show the new generation. I mean, we want to attract people, we want to attract new workforce capable to join the aviation community. Even the sector becomes less attractive. Our kids, they don't want to be pilot in command anymore as their dream of life. They are more looking for business or looking for financial markets, or being a doctor. Or this is today, aviation is not on the front line to attract the new generation. So again, the magazine will have a big responsibility there to bring the information and to make it available. And
I think you raise a really good point there about the challenge of just having enough staff to do the operational work that we need to, whether that's in the short term now post-COVID and then looking to the next generation. I think it's such an important role for EASA to inspire people that aviation is an interesting career with lots to offer. And I think at the same time, the agency probably has quite a strong role in helping create organisations of the future that people want to work in, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think we lost a lot of workforce. They don't want to come back unless the working conditions are different. And we believe, again, today, up to us as aviation community, operators, regulators, is to show that coming back, working with us in the aviation sector is attractive and is bringing a lot of fun, because aviation must be seen as something which is fun and attracting, and being also able to bring the new brains. I mean, we had some brain drain. Now we want to go back to get the brain back to the aviation sector, and this is one of our objectives as well.
And I think, in fact, there's one thing I always look at is you were both of us have worked in the operational parts of aviation, and it's that first excitement when you first see aircraft and around aircraft at the early stages of your career that kind of gives you that drive and enthusiasm that kind of gets you working every day to try and establish and continue to improve our aviation system. And I think it's how can we create that same feeling for people when they come to work every day? I think that's a big challenge.
That's a challenge, but I think it's the same in the IT sector, where your life has to be attractive enough to, when you come to the office, when you go to your cockpit, when you go to the cabin, when you go to your repair station, there is still something to be discovered. And aviation will remain a sector when there is a lot to be discovered. The way to change the air travel, it's something we have to do all together. We are looking for getting still the air travel cheap, not too expensive, I would say.
Yeah, it's finding that balance as a hub.
And it has to be green as well. So we have all some responsibilities to contribute to that. And that should be our challenge as manager in the administration, but also as a crew member. We have this collective responsibility.
And maybe moving on, talking about some of the other challenges that we face. Obviously, we've got the world feels perhaps more unstable now than it has done for quite a long time. There's lots of external threats to the system. Can you talk perhaps about some of the work that that our part of the agency has been doing in that area as well, and how that affects the industry?
Absolutely, it is one of the most recent challenge aviation has to face. I was mentioning environment, climate change, adaptation. Others is now related to health. I mean, we have the aviation sector was really suffering a lot from the COVID-19. We grounded, if you want, virtually all planes because of the risk of contamination. Health is a new risk when you go on board a plane. I think we have to ensure that I think the cabin will be safe enough from a health perspective. So that's the first element. Second one, of course, all the cyber attacks on the aviation system. We just published now a new regulatory framework, which is really something we never did before as a EU regulator, what we call Part IS, information security, how we have to ensure that each component of the aviation system is properly protected against a cyber attack. And if we don't have an overall coverage on the whole components, we will have gaps in the systems, and we run the risk that there is vulnerability if we have not an overall single regulatory framework covering at the same time the maintenance repair station, the cockpit, also the air traffic control tower, the service, the control center for the ground handlers. They are all elements, even the airport screening equipment, they are now attacked. So, and I don't speak about the miles programs for those who are frequent flyers, and that's another element where today we see attacks. So the whole system has to be protected. We have also a laser attack we see today. In some airport, we see a very fast growing attacks by laser. Is it by just for fun, or is it intentional? We don't know yet, but it's our responsibility as, again, regulator is to bring together some mitigation measures to avoid that the crew would be victim by laser, and more is coming in terms of risk. We have seen recently some balloons flying in some altitude, which were not predicted, become possibly object flying in the commercial airspace when they are flying back to the ground. This is a new flying object we need to integrate in our assessment on the risk. So yes, John, many new risks which we were not prepared, but we have to prepare in the future.
And I think that's certainly that's something I know we're talking a lot about, both in the directorate, in the agency, and with the wider community, is how can we improve our ability to know what's coming next, so things take us less by surprise. And I know the fact that you're always looking at how we can improve that. And I think just collectively, the aviation system in Europe has got better and better over time at looking ahead and bringing these things in, and this is where particularly collaboration is such a key thing. And maybe we move on to that now, because I know that's a big part of your role here at EASA, is the stakeholder management and the way EASA works and collaborates with both the member states and also the industry through our member state advisory body and stakeholder advisory body. It's a very important activity to ensure it all comes together. And we work together as an industry, and it's not just people in isolation doing their own thing.
There are two elements you rightly underline here, which are the key to success, and probably the preconditions to continue to maintain the system liable, safe, and secure, is to ensure that it's not only in our offices in Germany, in Köln, that we are drafting rules and we're preparing regulations. It has to be done together with those who will have to implement the measures, the mitigation measures we are identified ourselves. And John, you mentioned advisory bodies. I mean, we have even this week a meeting with our member states, all member states present, even non-EU member states which are now in the accession process. They are all part of our discussions and adopting or exchanging or sharing their own experience there. See from where they are in their own authority in their own member states. So that's a very important element. We want to make use of it. And of course, we have also to connect with all the sector, industry sector, all agents represented by associations are participating to our discussions, the drafting of the rule, and then later on to see how it can be implementable. That's one thing. Associating all the partners. This is major key to success. The second one is then promoting what we do in terms of measures to be taken in order to respond to the new society challenges. We discuss a lot the new risk, we discuss a lot climate change. I mean, it has to go through safety promotion. And that's why your team, by the way, from John,
always good to hear,
has a role to play, and we want very much, I mean, our audience today to really take ownership of this activity together with the safety promotion team to get this promulgated, promoted, distributed, shared, disseminated, percolated anywhere where it is important for the aviation to know what is the right behavior, what is the right measure, what is the right action.
And I think that's probably the perfect place to finish. I think you couldn't have kind of summed things up any better if you tried. That I think it's not just what we do here and what we do with the member states and at a strategic level, but it's that reaching down to the industry that really makes a difference and helps create this community that will continue to change the world and connect people all over the world in such an exciting way, and look forward to all these new challenges that we're going to face as an industry. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for being part of the first podcast. Great to have you, and hopefully we will have some more interesting guests joining us here in the studio next time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.